Emma Collins never believed in fairy tales. At 26, she was too busy juggling two part-time jobs and trying to pay off her student loans. Love, for her, was something that happened to other people, those who had time to dress pretty and swipe right. It was a rainy Thursday when everything changed. She was working at Brew Haven, the tiny coffee shop near downtown Manhattan, when a tall man in a charcoal suit stepped in. His presence was magnetic. Every head turned as he entered. The raindrops on his shoulders glistened under the soft yellow lights. Black coffee. No sugar, he said, his voice low and confident. Emma smiled mechanically. Sure thing. She didn't recognize him, though her co-worker Lily nearly dropped a cup when she saw his face. When he left, Lily whispered, Emma, do you even know who that was? Emma frowned. A caffeine addict? That was Ethan Reed. As in Reed Enterprises. Billionaire. The youngest tech CEO in New York. Emma laughed. Yeah, right. And I'm the Queen of England. But that night, as she closed the counter, she found something under the napkin he'd left, his business card. On the back, written in neat, elegant handwriting. Dinner tomorrow? 7 p.m., the Glass Garden. Yar. Her first instinct was to roll her eyes. Definitely a prank. Maybe a hidden camera show. Why would a billionaire ask her out? She wore faded jeans, had coffee stains on her apron, and barely had enough money to take the subway home. Still, curiosity gnawed at her. The next evening, she stood outside the Glass Garden, one of Manhattan's most exclusive rooftop restaurants, staring at her reflection in the glass doors. She'd borrowed a simple navy blue dress from Lily and spent 30 minutes convincing herself she wasn't crazy. This is probably a joke, she muttered, clutching her bag. He won't even be there. But he was. Ethan Reed stood by the entrance, hands in pockets, looking even more impossibly handsome than she remembered. When his eyes met hers, he smiled. Not the polite smile of the rich and bored, but a real one. Emma, he said warmly, I was afraid you wouldn't come. She blinked. I thought this was a prank. If it were, he replied, pulling out her chair, I'd be the worst prankster alive. Please sit. Dinner felt unreal. He asked about her dreams, her favorite books, the little things that made her laugh. He listened, really listened. No arrogance, no pretense. And yet, something about him seemed off, like he was hiding a secret behind that calm, perfect smile. Halfway through dessert, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Why me? He tilted his head. What do you mean? You could date anyone. Models, actresses, people who actually belong in places like this. Why ask me out? He looked straight into her eyes. Because you looked at me like a person, not a name. Her breath caught. The sincerity in his tone made her chest tighten. After dinner, he walked her to the street. Rain started to fall again, soft and shimmering under the city lights. He didn't reach for an umbrella. Instead, he laughed as the rain soaked his hair. Do you always laugh in the rain? She asked. Only when I'm with someone who doesn't mind getting wet, he replied. For the first time in years, Emma felt seen. Not as a struggling barista or a background extra in someone else's story, but as someone who mattered. When she finally got home, she checked her phone. A text from an unknown number lit up her screen. Had a wonderful evening. Let's make it official. Second date soon? Ethan. Her heart fluttered. She typed a reply, then hesitated. Was this real? Or was she being pulled into a world that didn't belong to her? As she lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, she didn't notice the black car parked across the street from her apartment, or the man inside, speaking softly into his phone. Yeah, the man said. He found her, just like the letter said. The next few weeks unfolded like a dream. Ethan Reed wasn't just a billionaire. He was unexpectedly kind. He'd show up at Brew Haven in the mornings, order her favorite coffee instead of his, and insist on walking her home whenever he could. The city buzzed with gossip, tabloids snapped photos, and social media exploded with headlines like, Billionaire Ethan Reed dating a barista? Emma ignored it all. To her, Ethan wasn't a headline, he was just him. The man who made her laugh so hard she spilled coffee, who listened to her talk about her father's old guitar and her dream to open a small cafe of her own. But the more she got to know him, the more questions grew in her mind. He never talked about his family. His phone would ring in the middle of dinner, and his expression would change, tense, almost afraid. One night, after a late walk along the Hudson, she finally asked, "What are you hiding, Ethan?" He froze. The river lights flickered across his face. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Try me," she said softly. He looked at her for a long time before whispering, "I wasn't supposed to meet you. I was supposed to find you." Her heart skipped. "Find me?" He took a deep breath. 6 years ago, my father, before he passed, left a letter. He wrote that one day I'd meet a woman who would change everything. Her name, he said, would be Emma Collins. She stared at him, stunned. "That's impossible." "I thought so too," Ethan said, his voice trembling slightly. "Until the day I saw you at that cafe. I didn't believe in fate, Emma, but that moment I did." For a long time, neither of them spoke. The city felt too loud, the wind too sharp. Emma didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or run. So this was all what? A prophecy? A family mission? "No," he stepped closer. "It started that way, but it stopped being about that the moment I saw you smile." Tears pricked her eyes. "You're serious?" He nodded. "Emma, I've never been more serious about anything in my life." She shook her head, trying to process it. "Ethan, I'm just me. I don't belong in your world." He smiled sadly. "Then I'll leave it for you." That night, she dreamed of him standing in the rain, reaching for her hand, but when she woke, his side of the bed was empty. A note lay on the nightstand. "I'll explain everything tonight. Meet me where it all began." Yar. Heart pounding, she raced to Brew Haven as the sun set. The cafe was closed, but inside, the lights were on. And there he was, Ethan, standing by the counter where they first met. Before she could speak, he dropped to one knee. "Emma Collins," he said, voice thick with emotion. "I don't care about fate, or prophecies, or what the world says we should be. I care about the woman who taught me how to be human again. Will you marry me?" Tears rolled down her cheeks. "Ethan, are you sure? You barely know where I come from." He smiled. "I don't need to know where you come from. I just need to know where we're going." Her heart burst with warmth. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." He slipped a simple diamond ring onto her finger, not too large, not too showy. Just perfect. The moment felt timeless until the door burst open. A man in a dark coat stepped inside, the same man who'd been watching her apartment weeks ago. His voice was cold. "So this is how it ends, Mr. Reed? Falling in love with her?" Emma stepped back. "Who are you?" The man's gaze hardened. "Someone who's been trying to protect you. You don't know the truth about him, do you?" "Stop," Ethan warned, his tone sharp. But the man continued. "He didn't tell you his father's letter wasn't just about fate. It was about inheritance. He needed to marry the woman named in that letter to unlock his company's final trust. You were part of his father's deal." The room went silent. Emma felt the air leave her lungs. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice breaking, "is that true?" He closed his eyes. "At first, yes. But then..." She stepped back. "No. Don't. You lied to me." "Emma, please listen to me. It started as an obligation, but it became real. You became my reason, not my requirement." But she was already walking out, tears blurring her vision. Outside, the rain poured again, just like the night they met. Ethan followed her out, calling her name, but she kept running until she disappeared into the crowd. 3 months later, Brew Haven was quieter. Emma worked silently, trying not to think about him. The ring sat hidden in a drawer, but she couldn't bring herself to throw it away. One snowy morning, as she unlocked the cafe, a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Still don't mind getting wet?" She turned. Ethan stood there, soaked to the bone, holding a small box. "I lost everything," he said simply. "The company, the inheritance, all of it. I walked away." "Why?" she whispered. Because none of it mattered without you. He opened the box. Inside wasn't a ring, but a tiny silver key. This is for you, he said. The lease to this cafe. You once said it was your dream to own it. Now it's yours. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Ethan, He smiled softly. I don't need your answer today. I just needed you to know I chose you. No money. No conditions. Just love. And before she could say another word, he turned to leave, disappearing into the snow. Emma stood there, clutching the key, realizing that fairy tales weren't about princes and riches. They were about the one who stayed true, even when everything else fell apart.